This is KGW News at 11.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Galen Etlin. We begin with an expensive and pretty scary problem for a lot of people out there. Nearly 51,000 households were approved for the Oregon Rental Assistance Program, but less than half have received their money. Officials don't know when they'll get through that backlog, and Art Edwards shares the impact for families tonight.
Any sources of income I had at that point just completely went away. And at the same time, here I am left with 3 kids that I need to take care of.
When the pandemic hit, Musonda Mwango found himself in a tough spot. When he found out Oregon got $289 million in federal funding to help people pay their rent, he thought that there was some hope.
I mean, for most of us that had kind of basically lost just about everything, any source of income that was there, it became one of those things where like, man, thank you, God, we get a lifeline here.
Accessing the lifeline has not been easy. Mwango said that it was challenging to fill out the application for the Oregon Emergency Rental Assistance Program. He filled out his application in June and was approved in August. He still hasn't received any funds, and he doesn't know when they'll arrive.
This is an emergency. This is not a practice. This is real lives getting torn apart.
So far, more than 22,000 applications have been approved, and nearly $150 million has reached renters. The state is pausing the program for 6 weeks, starting December 1st. Officials hope that will give them the chance to work through the backlog and get renters like Mwango the money they've been promised.
The uncertainty of everything is just like, it's staring you in the face every waking moment.
He met with Governor Brown last week and hopes lawmakers will convene a special session to look for new ways to help renters struggling with financial hardships because of the pandemic. Art Edwards, KGW News.
So many people impacted. Now, we do want to remind you, if you've fallen behind on rent, you can apply for emergency funds by the end of Tuesday before midnight. If you fall behind after December 1st, you should apply for local emergency rental programs like the ones in Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas counties. As you deck the halls this year, get ready for more expensive Christmas trees, both real and fake. The price increases come from that perfect storm of increased demand, lower supply, and delays in delivery. Supply is being impacted from weather issues last winter all the way to this past summer. Trees suffered from ice, then drought, and, of course, June's heat wave. So for you, ultimately, that means you could pay about 10 to 30% more for live trees, and you'll have less to choose from.
Sometimes folks are looking for really large trees, and we only have a few of them, and we'd like to have more, but that's what's available at the time.
Artificial trees are more expensive, too, because of the supply chain issue. There's just not enough truck drivers to make deliveries to stores. Communities in Northwest Washington are bracing for more floods as atmospheric rivers come ashore. That's the same type of weather system that flooded the area more than a week ago. This time, the area is a little bit more prepared. Members of the National Guard and Border Patrol are in the region to help with sandbagging and road closures. Some towns expect washed out roads in the morning, so they've been giving out supplies ahead of that storm.
And a lot of the same people that lost their house last week are trying to just get whatever they can to protect what they have left, which is probably the most heartbreaking thing.
A lady named Jennifer was dropping off hot meals to our house for a few days afterwards, which was a huge help when you're cleaning mud out all day.
Some cities are doing reverse 911 calls tonight, asking for voluntary evacuations in flood-prone areas, but most of the people there have already left. So let's bring in meteorologist Joe Ranieri now. Now, Joe, I know we saw flooding closer to home during the last event similar to this, but this one looks like it's going to be a little bit further out of our area.
It's going to be further out. It's going to be really hitting parts of British Columbia, and that's really what most of these atmospheric rivers have been doing. But of course, parts of the northwest Washington coast are going to see another round of heavy rain, and there could be the concern of some flooding as well. As we look at the radar right now, we're not seeing all that much rain in our area, but here in the last 24 hours, parts of Seattle, you've seen close to an inch of rain, and that number is going to continue to climb over the next 12 to 18 hours. Now, the good news is this atmospheric river won't be as intense as we saw earlier in the month, but still, there is the concern to see that snow level jumping up to 9,000 feet, and as it does, warm air is going to start to melt some of that snow up in the Washington Cascades, and that is the concern to see some rise in some streams and rivers heading into tomorrow. So rainfall today here locally, we saw 2/10 of an inch of rain, very mild out there, about 2/3 of we're in Astoria. And tomorrow along parts of the southwest Washington coast and really up and down the Washington coastline, you're going to be seeing some heavy rains. Quileute, you saw over 1/2 of an inch of rain. You can see Seattle so far today, you're not far from seeing an inch of rain. And you're going to be seeing the rainfall totals a little bit lighter heading into tomorrow through parts of the Seattle metro area, but all of the Washington coast, it's going to be pretty intense. Big reason why is this atmospheric river. We've been basically talking about it, it seems like the last month or so, and that's been the third or fourth round of heavy rain through parts of the Northwest here in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So as we bring in Futurecast, I have it stopped here tomorrow morning at 8 throughout much of the metro area and down into Salem and the central part of the Willamette Valley. You're going to be seeing mainly dry conditions, but you'll notice much of tomorrow there's going to be either some greens, some yellows, or some oranges over parts of Astoria. I'm forecasting rainfall amounts near Astoria close to 1 inch, maybe a little bit more. And here locally, we could be seeing lighter amounts of rain, but another round of rain will be pushing in late tomorrow afternoon and the evening and into Monday. I'll talk more about that and talk more about the record temperatures we saw just about an hour ago or so. I'll explain that coming up.
Action-packed. All right, Joe, thanks so much. Well, another person is recovering today from Portland's gun violence. The latest incident was near MLK in Fremont. Officers responded around 4:30 this afternoon. They arrived to find the victim alive and talking with emergency crews. That person was taken to the hospital. Now, the person behind this left the scene before officers arrived, and police have not been able to find them. Police are not saying much else about this right now, but if you know anything about it, you're asked to contact Portland Police. Well, it was a very different situation on the coast that got a lot of police attention. A stubborn sea lion refused to leave a Lincoln City road for hours yesterday. Police responded when the sea lion came up from the river and wandered onto the road. Police lovingly named this animal Tiffany. They set up a perimeter, but Tiffany was not having it. She wasn't going to leave. They called Oregon State Police, Fish and Wildlife, and the team hatched several plans to get Tiffany back into the water. Now, this next piece took hours, mind you. So police found fish from a local vendor to try to lure her away, but Tiffany was not interested in eating, likely because of all the stress. They eventually made a mobile corral with plywood to herd Tiffany to the closest river across access. The tide was out, but Tiffany waded in a small stream, and police say the sea lion seemed pretty content there, so they left her alone until she could take off. It is time for a Japanese language lesson. Onsen ni ikitai desu ka? Want to go to the hot spring? I just wanted to show off. A Japanese-style hot spring is coming to the coast of southwest Washington, complete with a special campground. An outdoor lifestyle company called Snow Peak had a groundbreaking in Long Beach this past week. The company plans to repurpose this old campground there, which already has hookups and old bathrooms. It wants to totally revamp them to make people feel more at home while enjoying nature.
We think that the simple act of having really nice bathrooms is a forward-looking move when it comes to campground development.
One of the clearings next to a pond will house a large hot water soaking pool with sauna and showers, and that's inspired by Japanese onsen, or hot springs. There will be about 75 campsites, mostly for tents, but there will be some cabins too. And you can rent your camping gear there. Cars are also not allowed past a certain point. Snow Peak hopes to have this site ready in 2023.